What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ash Talks Movies, and welcome to my review of Roofman. This is the latest movie from director Derek Cianfrance. It's based on a true story, and it stars Channing Tatum as Jeffrey Manchester, a former Army Reserve officer who in the late 1990s began robbing over 40 McDonald's restaurants by entering through the roof, hence the nickname Roofman. He eventually gets caught and is sentenced to 45 years in prison, but Manchester uses his skill of observation to escape. While on the run, he decides to hide out in the most unexpected place, a Toys R Us store. Before I jump into the review, if you want to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do it. One, you can subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, make sure you like and comment, share your thoughts about the review and the movie.
We all like going back in time and imagining how things could have gone differently. Like, what if I made different choices? Would I have ended up here?
It's been 6 months and still no leads on the whereabouts of the escaped convict known as the Roofman.
Roofman is one of those real-life stories that's stranger than fiction. It's a wild story that goes in some really unexpected places. Now, I actually have a vague memory of this story, of seeing this story on the news, but I don't remember a lot about Jeffrey Manchester. The one thing that really stood out to me about his story was that he was always referred to as a polite robber. He would go into these McDonald's and force the employees to go into the walk-in freezer, but he would never hurt anyone. He was always really kind, and that was how witnesses always described him, as just being a nice guy. The movie paints Manchester as a lovable underdog. He's a veteran who is adjusting to civilian life and desperate to provide for his family. So desperate that he resorts to crime. The movie does a good job of not glorifying crime, but it does humanize Manchester in a way that makes you feel for him, even when he repeatedly makes bad choices that get him into trouble. Channing Tatum is incredibly charming as Manchester, and I think he was a great casting choice. He gets to be sweet, sincere, and goofy, and a lot of what he's doing here shows just how underrated he is as an actor. And it was a lot of fun watching him play a guy who, in many ways, is a genius because of how he's able to see things others can't and come up with solutions that other people don't think about. But he's also someone who lets small things get the better of him. While hiding out at the Toys R Us, Manchester starts to let his guard down, and he falls for Lee, played by Kirsten Dunst, a single mother who works at the store. And Dunst is wonderful as Lee, a woman who is pulled in by Manchester's charm, and by all real-life accounts, he was a very charming, charismatic guy. Dunst also brings sincerity to her role, and what's really great about her performance is how she's able to be so expressive with her face. You see both interest and intrigue on her face, as well as doubt and apprehension, and she has amazing chemistry with Channing Tatum. Rounding out the cast, you have LaKeith Stanfield as Steve, Manchester's friend and fellow Army vet. He brings some much-needed humor and sincerity to his role, but he's given so little to do that he's pretty much wasted here. Peter Dinklage is Mitch, the overbearing manager at the Toys R Us store, and while Dinklage does a good job, the character is nothing more than a combination of a ton of different horrible boss tropes. And then you have Ben Mendelsohn and Uzo Aduba, who show up very briefly as a stereotypical Southern pastor and pastor's wife. I enjoyed this movie, but I couldn't help but think that there was a missed opportunity here to lean more into the comedy. Director Derek Cianfrance, who's known for indie art house type movies with heavier themes like Blue Valentine and A Place Beyond the Pines, makes this a drama with a little bit of comedy thrown in. But Roofman really comes to life during the humorous moments. The story itself is so wild and silly that it could have been a stronger movie if it had leaned more into the comedy and not tried to be so self-serious. The movie also suffered from some pacing issues, and there were quite a few times where things really started to drag, and that usually happened when we were watching Manchester hide out and waiting to see what his next steps were going to be. And honestly, this movie was probably 15 to 25 minutes too long. Despite those few shortcomings, I really did enjoy this movie. Roofman is a solid movie with a very interesting story at the center of it, one that's based on real life, and it'll have you laughing, and it'll also pull on your heartstrings. So those are my thoughts on Roofman, which is out in theaters right now. Do you plan on seeing it? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks for watching.